continuous foreign interference in our elections, right?
But that's always been
that's
the case.
The double standard, Sam. Now you're proposing a double standard. When Hillary says it, it's totally subtle and fine, and when Trump says it in the most obvious, foolish way, then it's totally different.
Ben Shapiro crushes woke Sam Harris and his delusional arguments in this clip. Now, I used to listen to Sam Harris way back in the day and thought he made a lot of sense at the time. But ever since Donald Trump got into politics, Sam Harris has lost his mind, saying some deranged stuff, going along with the woke crowd. And Ben Shapiro has debated Sam Harris a number of times before, and I believe gotten the better of him. And this time is no different. So let's check out Ben Shapiro squashing woke Sam Harris in this one.
The American people deserve to know that Donald Trump asked me to be loyal to him, to put my loyalty to him over my loyalty to the Constitution, right? That is political plutonium, right? And we should and the Republican Party should recognize it as such. But what we have in the Republican Party is, as I said, a cult of personality and a loyalty test. And you have people like J.D. Vance and even Elon Musk bending the knee in this loyalty test in the most abject way, asserting that they believe the big lie that he really won or might have won the 2020 election. And this is not, it's just not normal, and it's not compatible with the norms of our democracy. And the sooner we wake up from this bad dream, the better.
So again, you talk about the peaceful transition of power, which actually did happen because Donald Trump did leave office in January of 2021, and Joe Biden has been president mostly for the last 3.5 years, despite his mental ineptitude.
You cannot call January 6th a peaceful transfer of power.
Well, that's not when the transfer of power happens. People don't leave office on January 6th. People leave office on January 20th.
If Mike Pence had obeyed him, we would have had a genuine constitutional crisis.
I agree with you, which is, I think, that why Mike Pence did the right thing. And I think that what Donald Trump, the argument that Donald Trump was making between November and January was morally and legally specious. But with that said, there was a peaceful transition of power.
But right now on the campaign trail, when Donald Trump is asked, and he was on Joe Rogan a few days ago, about the 2020 election, he still claims that he won the election. What do you make of that?
I mean, I obviously disagree with him. I don't think that he won the 2020 election. Also, this is part and parcel. I wish it weren't. But it is part and parcel of a reactionary divide that has plagued our politics since before Donald Trump, frankly. I mean, when Donald Trump won the election in 2016, we then spent 3.5 years of people claiming that Donald Trump was a Russian plant and had been bootstrapped into office by the Russians manipulating Facebook. This sort of election denialism is not. It is ugly. It is bad on both sides. It is. I won't even say that what Democrats
on both sides.
That's not true. I mean, that's not. If Donald Trump wins this election, I promise you will see election denialism on the left. That is incredibly similar to what you've seen from Donald Trump.
I wanted to ask you that, and this is a question for you. I'm not going to filibuster, Ben. I just want to ask you, if on Election Day we have a clear result, right? So there's a landslide in the swing states, and someone really wins, right? If I told you that the losing candidate denied the results of the election and simply would not accept a loss, and even appealed to their most fanatical supporters to come into the streets and just obviously provoked violence on the part of the mob.
Now, I know Sam Harris is about to mention Donald Trump because that's who he's talking about, but this is exactly why I don't listen to Sam Harris anymore. He said peacefully protest, and the left has never wanted to actually admit that that is what Donald Trump said. Not only that, they also didn't want the footage of everything at January 6th to come out because they tried to hide it until Tucker Carlson helped it come out, only to expose that literally almost all of it was actually peaceful. There was no insurrection. The media just lied and took a little bit and tried to tell a story that has later been debunked radically. And even we have Ray Epps, the guy who incited the whole thing, who basically got a slap on the wrist and nothing happened. Meanwhile, we have people who did nothing still in jail right now because of the lawfare used by the left. And like Sam Harris wants to, like, does he just not know this? Does he not just pretend like it's not real? Like, this is the delusion I'm talking about. Like, some of these people on the left still don't want to acknowledge basic facts. And you can argue one way or another, whether or not you thought Donald Trump won 2020 or you agree with him or whatever. But at least Ben Shapiro can acknowledge like basic facts. Like, yeah, he says it. I don't agree with it, but there was a peaceful transfer of power. Like, that actually did happen. So, I mean, Sam Harris, like, I'm just done with him. He's lost, but it's still funny to watch him. I mean, let me know what you think, whether or not you disagree, but like, all of that's out. Like, we know January 6th was not what they told us to be, and we know they lied about it. Like, I don't know. Like, who's the real bad guy here? I mean, let me know, Sam Harris.
Right. And said, and when asked, what about the Constitution? This candidate said, to hell with the Constitution. We don't have a country anymore. Which candidate am I conceivably talking about?
Well, I mean, I think that, given Trump's rhetoric in 2020, obviously what you're talking about is Donald Trump. I don't think that's how it'd be phrased by Kamala Harris. I think that the way that it'd be phrased by Kamala Harris is more subtly.
There's a chance that Kamala Harris, if she loses in a landslide, you think there's a chance that she will not accept the results of the election?
Forget about a landslide. How about a close election?
Into the streets?
How about a close election? How about a close election? Forget about a landslide, because a landslide
the landslide just makes it perfectly clear. I'm telling you that.
Why the necessity for that sort of clarity in an election that's 50-50? Why not actually pick a plausible scenario? The most plausible scenario is that she loses in a very tight election.
It's all too
and then
plausible.
She says there's been voter suppression, and then she
suggests. It's all too plausible. Ben, it's all too plausible because currently the chance that there will be a landslide in the swing states is about 40%, even though we're at 50-50 between the two candidates. According to Nate Silver, there's a 40% chance that one of them runs the table in the swing states, right? So it's
for sure that would be an electoral college landslide. We're not talking about a popular vote landslide in any case.
No, right.
But,
so I'm talking about a clear result, right? Where no allegations of fraud are plausible.
Okay, so the most obvious sort of rhetoric that would be used along those lines would be Trump's, and then the rhetoric that would be used on the other side if Trump wins would be that Trump has corrupted the system. The system has been so corrupted that people weren't able to vote properly in places like Georgia, which has been the claim that there was Jim Crow 2.0 in Georgia for years. There would be claims that Donald Trump was paid off by the billionaires, that there was foreign interference in the election. There would be all of these claims, right, and they would float around. Donald Trump this is my original claim, Sam, is that Donald Trump is very obvious in his excesses. Democrats and the Democratic Party and Kamala Harris are much more, I would say, much more subtle in their excesses. But those excesses are no less dangerous for being more subtle. In fact, in some ways, I think they are more dangerous for being more subtle.
Ben, you can't use a phrase like no less dangerous. Hillary Clinton conceded in 24 hours. That is less dangerous than this continuous provocation.
Sam, I just disagree with you. I disagree with you. I think that the attempt by members of the media, by Hillary Clinton, who herself said that Donald Trump was illegitimately elected based on Russian interference in the 2016 election, was highly damaging.
How long did she say that for? How long did she say that for? Does she still say that?
I mean, she will. Yes, actually, she will still claim openly that there was manipulation that took place during that is true. That there was manipulation during the 2016 election.
She says the sane thing to say is that there is continuous foreign interference in our elections, right?
But that's always been the case.
That's the double standard, Sam. Now you're proposing a double standard.
When
Hillary says it, it's totally subtle and fine, and when Trump says it in the most obvious, foolish way, then it's totally different.
Yeah, and that's a great point by Ben Shapiro. Like, this is always the double standard on the left. And even now, after Donald Trump has won, like, they still have that elitist mentality, so many of them, which is just killing the legacy media. But, I mean, the whole Russian dossier was paid for by Hillary Clinton. And in the end, all she had to do was pay a fine. Like, this is all filed through the FEC. What do you want me to say? It's like, it's utterly ridiculous that they still want to push this narrative that, oh, like, she did this, but then you want to ignore the 3 years after it of them lying about Russian disinformation, about lying about everything else. You just ignore all of that. And this is what so many of these people, these woke leftists, do, is they just cherry pick. They cherry pick the information to tell the narrative and the story they want to, and then they ignore everything else. Meanwhile, like, normal, rational people can understand that multiple things can all be true at the same time. And if you're going to ignore half of it, then what you're doing really isn't honest and based on truthful. But when you're like Sam Harris, I don't think that really matters. I think he spiraled so far in this truth bubble that he now is just lost in his own echo chamber. But folks, thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought about what Ben Shapiro had to say to woke Sam Harris in this clip about Donald Trump and more. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I will see you folks on the next one.